And now I would like to ask the audience to ask questions, please. Well, I'm sorry, I saved the time for the discussion, please. Or we saved the time for the discussion, please. Okay, then I will start. Not asking myself the question, but maybe just some comments, and then maybe it will induce the discussion. We need 5 minutes before the end for the summary, so we have about 6-7 minutes. So what I think the presentations showed was that REGPOT funding is really very crucial for the less developed regions. And first of all, the lesson is never give up. Even if the second application didn't work out, try to improve it, contact your national contact point, people who are experienced or other peoples, and apply again. Finally, you will succeed. Second, that we in the less developed regions face very similar problems. And I would like to point to one of them, to hire high-quality people. On several occasions, people were describing the problems to either find good postdocs or to keep them on the job or during the duration of the project. We in Poland also face it. But we are talking about the postdocs. But what about the group leaders? What about those successful postdocs who are abroad who would like to make the first independent group? It's very difficult to get them to these less developed regions. So my conclusion would be, and comment to the EC officials, keep the REGPOT or something like that for less developed regions. It's really badly needed. Moreover, it already fulfills some suggestions for the future, because although there are no concentration of the research there, so there's no first C, there are two other Cs. First of all, there is cooperation, and it was clearly shown. It was cooperation with European partners, but also it's a cooperation with the partners in industry, which is important, which takes us to the innovation stage. But also there is the third C, which is connection. And it was shown on several occasions that these REGPOT funding was able to create or to keep the existing connections. And I think this is very important. So if you don't agree with me, please make your own statements or ask other questions, please. Yes.
Krzysztof Rąckowiak, Polish Science Contact Agency. Stefan Weiers mentioned kindly this expert group. I was a member of this expert group. First, I would like to say that the maybe most important conclusion of this expert group was to not only to continue the REGPOT program, but to rise quite significantly the funding of this program, because the situation was embarrassing sometimes when proposals evaluated to 14.5 points, even they lose the competition. So this is small remarks, and now I have a question. Among today presentations, is any project that has more than 2 years since ending of this project? Yours, yeah?
And so ours.
Only one, yes, because the oldest projects I see no more than 3 years since ending of the project. So we also had the situation, because it was 2 years, approximately 2 years ago, this evaluation of projects, that until now we don't know exactly what are the middle or long-term follow-ups of winning projects. In my opinion, some of them, at least 30–35%, will have a really significant influence on the long-term activity and actions and successes of the winning institutions. So my question is to Mr. Georgos, yeah?
Yes.
Could you say a few words on your expectations for the next 2–3 years? After ending this project?
Okay. First of all, as I try to give an image that I would like to use the equipment that we couldn't afford in other different circumstances, and I can make a comment on structural funds. To have this equipment and to be linked with large-scale infrastructure in Europe. We were already participating in projects about networking activities, but we couldn't provide expertise. So if we want to have money to maintain our equipment, we should become members and collaborate with larger infrastructure. The first thought when we got a positive answer about the proposal was, okay, great, we got the proposal. The second thought, it was how can I say, I was anxious about the sustainability of this research equipment, because I'm not sure that regional government can support this this plan to sustain the equipment, so we should find other sources. So the point is to reach the industrial stakeholders, to reach the large-scale infrastructure in Europe, and to act as a regional partner facility, which is actually was my idea. I didn't know how or exactly the way to set up something like this, but it is now mentioned in Horizon 2020, the regional partner facility. I see a future through this possibility. And I would like to say something about structural funds. I do like, even if we got this project, to continue REGPOT, because we were, as a first approach 8 or 10 years ago, we tried to get this kind of fund from our regional government. But for example, if you go and discuss about this specialized equipment, it's something strange for them. So it's difficult to get the money. You need 1.5 for research equipment for your purposes. But through REGPOT project, it was easier. I mean, we said, instead of insisting on regional government, why don't we set up a REGPOT project? And as you mentioned, we tried 1, 2, 3 times and we got it. So I think it is very important, and now we have the seal of excellence. And European regions should support these investments, because after all, it's a huge investment from European community, should sustain the equipment.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I can't see. Then Stefan, please, could you make the summary of our session, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it was a very interesting session, and our speakers from the projects, we had in total 6 projects that gave us, I think, a representative sample of the whole of research potential, not only from the main calls, but we have also learned that research potential was a success model that has been exported even beyond Europe with a successful collaboration with Mediterranean countries. Looking a little bit back to the presentation, we can see a kind of common denominator, common features, that almost all of these projects came from less favored regions. Indeed, I may give a reservation for that on MIMOMENS, Bucharest, which is indeed a metropolitan area in southeastern Europe, where you have not the typical disadvantages like for instance in Galicia, where you have problems of accessibility, of image, and other factors that are actually inhibiting the development of economic development. We have learned that it is a key issue to attract the best talents, in particular to these regions, and to retain them. I think it was known that in all projects this was the most difficult activity line, to recruit the right people and to retain them. That is confirmed by my practical experience as a project officer and program manager. If we have received amendment requests for extension of a contract is normally due to the fact that it is difficult to perform the recruitment in time. This leads also to another point, which is sometimes an inhibiting factor, which is a regulatory environment, institutionally or maybe even nationally. We have seen the example here from Tunisia, where we have this in an extreme appearance, but we face this, I think, also in European countries, that regulatory environment and bureaucratic burdens often are major inhibiting factors. We also learned, I think, from all of these projects that infrastructure and investment for equipment are also crucial. You cannot only talk about human resources, but a generous investment in infrastructures was often the key to success. And as we have learned also across scientific disciplines, it's mostly about not building a completely new lab. It's the upgrading to come to better measurement accuracy, to higher resolution, to faster throughput of samples. These are the things what is needed in order to become competitive and to become attractive and to get invited to networks like we learned from Greece, to get liaise with European and national infrastructure networks. The other point, what we also learn from all of the project, is the issue of visibility, which is crucial also in particular in less favored regions. We have seen good examples where, for instance, events were set up, and I may add perhaps to Alexandru's presentation that they also in Romania developed a kind of recurrent scientific event that became a brand. I do not know by heart anymore what is the name of it, but where even people then came from all over Europe or from the world every year to a relatively remote place in Romania to exchange scientific views. And this also contributed to the sustainability of such a success. Other point is, we are talking nowadays a lot about innovation, which is, from point of view of the Commission, of course, very important in terms of industry collaboration, which is actually the means of innovation. If we want to transform scientific knowledge into new products, new service, and so on, we have to link with industry at a very early stage. And that we also learned from this presentation, I think, that there is not an artificial contradiction between good fundamental research and collaboration with the industry, because in most of the cases it was possible to set up a sustainable contact with the industry and to involve them, to get invited, for instance, into industry-led consortia. In some cases it was maybe not the desired effect, but the guys were just recruited from the industry and they got lost for academia. It's up to us to interpret whether it is good or bad, but at least it's also an indicator for successful industry collaboration. We have some cases also reported here where patents were developed. It's not only about publication, but also about protecting of the IPR. And we see now in the new generation of projects that we just evaluated that quite a few of the successful projects, they picked up on this opportunity, and they will develop a very interesting IPR strategy. And last but not least, I think is talking about sustainability, which sustainability also means, as we have seen, that it will not be reflected in the Horizon 2020 as a continuation. We have to ensure sustainability by transferring this knowledge into cohesion policy, where we could also leverage a lot of money, because this has been a relative, financially speaking, very small program with 340 million euro over 6 years. Professor van Koviat mentioned that was the finding of the expert group, that we, if we continued, we would have to double, I think, the budget. What we are now trying is to leverage even more money within the cohesion policy by using this experience to stimulate sustainable continuation with the structural funds. So I hope this covers more or less the presentation and the part of the discussion. I pass the floor to our moderator. Maybe you have something to add.
Well, if I can only argue with one thing, if we can try to do also at least part of the REGPOT separately out of structural funds, it would be good. And I can find arguments, but I wouldn't like to keep the audience here for long. But there are several serious arguments to keep it separately. And are there any other questions? If not, I would like to thank the speakers. And the audience for being with us till the end. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.